www.biteradio.me or call 843.
I'm getting ready to be interviewed on a radio show.
The Bringing Inspiration to Earth show with your host, Robert Sharp. Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this edition of the Bringing Inspiration to Earth show. Today, my special guest is Denise Roussel, and we are talking about her new book, Creating a New Earth, Waking Up to Who We Are. This book is a call to everyone to flow as the creators that we are, to band together in love in creating a new earth. We have enormous potential to create for the greater good, yet we have no idea what we as a collective are capable of because our humanity has, for the most part, kept us unconscious and separate. We become conscious and wake up by being present and harmonizing with ourselves through love and acceptance. The more conscious presence we are, we send out healing, harmonious energy around the world. This is how we create a new earth. For more information, you can visit Denise's website, which is www.corysdream.org, and that's CORYSDREAM.org. And with that, I'd like to welcome Denise to the show. Good day, Denise.
Hello. It's great to hear from you and to be here on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I am happy to, do what we can to get people shaken up and woken up. So I'm looking forward to it. So I usually like to start this show by having the guest kind of tell a little bit of about themselves, kind of like their journey up to this particular point. And would you mind sharing a little bit about your background?
I would love to. I want to say that I have an amazing life, and I'm so happy to share about it. This journey, 4.5 years ago, my middle son, Corey, and there's a picture of him in the background of this book that I've published, died suddenly and unexpectedly. And it brought me to this powerful awakening experience. And he and I have been working together for many lifetimes. And we have special work we're doing here. And so it was like when he exited, it seemed like he was saying, okay, I'm finished now, and I'm going to the other side where I can be of more service. And so a lot of stuff happens. Losing a child is pretty traumatic. And through the course of the last 4 years, I have grieved the loss of my son. I have published 10 books. I have traveled extensively, walked hundreds of miles, produced lots of art. I share daily inspiration through social media, just sharing my experience, and I've done it without being busy. So it's been amazing. And what I've found through this journey is that I know why we came into these bodies. And I know it's because I'm here to create a new earth by embodying the love that we are. And I'm excited about it. I'm doing that. And I'm co-creating with you.
There you go. Absolutely. I love co-creation. I mean, really everything is co-created, and once we recognize that and kind of bring together our fellow creators for whatever project in life we want to do, it's fun to do that. So now, Corey, I read correctly, it was 27 when
Yes.
he died. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's very young,
Mm-hmm.
for someone to have felt that he did what he came to do.
Yes. He lived more in 27 years than most people do in 72. And it was like, woof, woof,
Okay.
woof, woof, up, down, crazy.
Yeah.
Robert, one of the things that surprised me about Corey's life is that he, unlike me, who was afraid of everything, he lived this really risky, crazy life that, wow. And I couldn't understand why in the world would he do that? And I realized is that because he said so, he told me, is that he was very intentionally creating situations so he could face his fears and create courage in doing so. So he could do what he came here to do.
Wow. So now, when it came time to for this work that you two do together, tell us about. So what I'm kind of getting for you is that you two are still cohorts in
Absolutely.
your work.
He's very present.
So yeah. So now, before his passing, what were your beliefs and his beliefs about, the idea of afterlife communication, the fact of that connection?
Well, he would post things and we talked about a lot of things. I think more appropriately would be, I think what you're wanting to know is how did we begin working together before he passed? And how that's worked since he's passed.
Yeah, just how that all happened.
Okay, so I want to say that Corey lived a pretty dramatic life, and that include alcohol and drug addiction, and it include other things. A year of federal prison stay, which it was based on a charge of crossing someone illegally across the border, and it was from prison that he decided to transmute his prison sentence into a time of personal transformation. And so when he got to that prison cell, he turned it into an ashram, a temple, a college classroom, a psychotherapist's office, and he began to read and write and meditate and share. And he wrote many letters, and every time he would write letters, long letters, he was like planting seeds and introducing ideas like we're all connected. And at the time, my belief system was very Christian, and it served me quite well, but it began to limit me because he was introducing ideas that I was like, really? I didn't know that. And he kept asking me to read Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, which I did. So during the course of 2012, when he was in prison and chronicling his transformation, he was bringing me along with him. And so I made a decision back in 2012 to let go of everything I've ever believed, good, bad, right, wrong, tradition, religion, and to go to the I don't know. And it kind of like, woof, flung me off into outer space. And I was like, I don't know anybody who's doing this except Corey, and he's across the country right now in prison. And so I just I would say it was kind of a pre-awakening time, and it was our introduction to how we're together going to start doing this work without all the conflict that we'd previously experienced. The last 6 months of Corey's life was a real blossoming period. And he and I spent time, he lived in Austin, I lived in Baton Rouge, and he and I did spend time regularly and talked a lot, and he also was preparing me. We didn't say this at the time because we didn't know he was going to die, and this wasn't a conscious thing, but it was like he was my guru. And I didn't have anybody who was teaching me the stuff that was coming to me. But when he died, it was like, boom. It was like instant, this is a new day for you, Denise, and you're going to start receiving some stuff. 5 days after Corey died, he began appearing to me, and he appeared to me in a dream. And he had a snake wrapped around his arm, and he was holding the snake's head in his hands, and the snake had its fangs bared. And I said, is it poisonous? And he said, no. And the implication was it's not going to kill you. And he put the snake right in my face, and I screamed, no, Corey. And I woke up, and I knew exactly what he was telling me. He was telling me, I need you to face your fears, Mom, because you have a big job ahead of you and it's going to require a lot of courage. And that's what I've been doing the last 4.5 years, is facing my fears, allowing and opening. It's been an amazing journey. And I've come back home to myself and I remember who we are, and I just keep opening and opening to who we are. And I'll tell you a secret. It's not really been that hard. It's just been unfamiliar to our human way of being. And so what I'm doing is I am being present with love and acceptance to whatever arises.
Well, that's a perfect state of being, as far as, because so many of our, it seems right now, so many of our beliefs are being challenged, in the sense that we are awakening as to the good and the bad,
Yes.
with the systems, the truths and the non-truths, so it seems that, with Corey, what it sounds like to me is like when you said he was, your guru. I mean, it was one of those things where, that 27 years was plenty to be able to make the connection with you and then go ahead and, work in this multi-dimensional kind of way.
Yes. So I like to think about our lives as, first of all, and by the way, Corey's very regularly communicating with me. He's always present with me. And I was in a Yoga Nidra meditation, and Corey showed up to me and he's like, his eyes right in my face. And he said, I need you to remember you are source in a human body. Don't forget, you are source in a human body. And what he was reminding me of is that our true nature is our divine, limitless nature. And we have come into these human bodies to have this human experience of feeling separate from everything and everyone, so that we can evolve our individual aspects of the collective. Each of us being individual aspects of source. And so, and only each of us I can only evolve my aspect of source, my collection of experiences, not just from this lifetime, but stored here in my cellular DNA, many lifetimes. And you as well, and everyone. We all have work to do. We're all evolving our aspect of the collective. And so as we keep opening to who we are, we can become both fully human and enjoy being human, and fully divine. And what I'm doing is aligning my human nature with my divine, limitless nature. I'm not trying to kill my human. Oh no, that's what's caused me problems and a lot of suffering, by pushing away my darkness, my sadness, my anger, my jealousy. I become best friends with these parts of myself. And this is what I bring. And it's talked about, but it's not widely practiced in conscious communities even. And that is helping people to have tools to practice being present, learning how to be present, to be here now. When we're present, we tap into our divine, limitless nature, because we are presence itself. And it's not our habituated way of being. We're not naturally, intuitively present. We're everywhere but here. So in order to reprogram our human way of being, we have practices. And so we just keep trying to go back to this moment. And the second part about it that I really, really am able to help in this story and in this body is to help people to learn practices to hold space for the abandoned, rejected parts of ourselves, because we have been habituated to push away our fear, to push away our sadness, to push away our anger, and all of these things as evil and bad and wrong, and I don't want to feel it. And we have all kind of tricks for pushing it away and ignoring it and denying it and fighting it. And it's only perpetuating the suffering. So what I'm saying is we can learn how to gently and kindly be with these parts of ourselves and offering complete love and acceptance, much like you would if there was a little kid, your little kid that got bullied on the playground and pushed out, and he came home and he started acting out and being upset. I could just take that little hurt little child and put them on my lap and say, oh my gosh, please tell me all about it. I am so sorry. You don't deserve this. I want you to know I'm here now. I want you to know, even though you feel unwanted, I want you. Even though you feel that you're separate from everything and everyone, we're connected to everyone and everything. And this is what I do with parts of myself. I treat these parts of myself like my little girls that are just hurt and they want to come back home. They've been locked away in the basement and they're hungry and they're tired and they just want my presence. And that's something that is not normal and natural for us. It's so unfamiliar. It's not that hard. It's just unfamiliar.
Right. Yeah.
And so we have practices.
It's a matter of practice.
Yes, practices. And the more you practice anything, the better, the easier it gets, and the more skilled you become. So it's not the practices themselves. It's not the yoga. It's not the meditation. It's not the mantras. It's not all that that's like, oh, I can do this. That's just your spiritual ego. I don't care how much you can meditate, how much you can do yoga and all that stuff. What matters is that we keep coming back to ourselves, to who we are.
Yep. Now, the title of the book is Creating a New Earth. What do you see are characteristics of that new earth?
Oh, wow. I'm going to just kind of touch on this. Well, first of all, this new earth, we can also create the transition of how we get there. We as conscious creators can actually decide how traumatic it's going to be, much like a death of someone. People die very traumatically, and some of them die peacefully. We can decide how we're going to transition. And we are shifting, and we will shift in this near future. And so as we wake up to who we are, we as a collective are going to have a system. Well, I'll just kind of touch on the first points because it'll take too long to read it all. But first of all, there'll be no money. And the way that we operate is not going to be on this competitive capitalist system. It's going to be on a shared bottom. We'll own things. We will all understand that we're all here working together. We're collaborating. We're going to get our energy and our food in a very organic, sustainable way and replenish the earth as we're doing so, using our resources kindly. We're going to have relationships that are not based upon love being scarce, but as love being abundant. And we're going to be able to use our sexual energy in a pure way to create more love. We're going to no longer be competing against one another. We're going to be collaborating. There are enough resources. We don't have to fight over them. Our educational system is going to be completely altered. We're going to realize that not just as teachers, but as parents, we will be more like guides, helping people to flow in their strengths and realizing that we're all peers. Ultimately, we're all souls, and the children and the students have just as much to offer as the teachers and the parents. So we're just using our opportunity to guide people and not to have this hierarchical leadership. And that's the same in the workplace. That's going to be completely revamped, and we're going to all be doing work that we enjoy and that we're happy to do, and we won't even feel like work. We're going to flow in a completely different frame of mind, and we won't be trying to push one down so the other one could come up. We're going to be able to communicate in ways that we're not always triggering one another and fighting with one another. All sorts of things like that. That's just a little sampling.
Wow. Yeah, that would be utopia.
It's what we're creating. That's what we're creating. And our intention and our awareness and our conscious creation is very powerful. We are divine, limitless beings. That's what I'm creating. And that's what I'm co-creating with you.
Absolutely. Well, we're about halfway through, so I want to take just a quick break, and I do want to invite listeners, if you would like to call in and ask Denise any questions, you can call in at 619-789-4359. And for those of you listening live in the chat room, you can go ahead and type in a question there, and we'll get it in. And we'll be right back. Okay, Denise?
Okay.
All right, great. Everyone stay tuned.
Okay.
Hello, this is Robert Sharp. I want to thank you for joining us and hope you are enjoying today's show. Just a reminder that we have a wealth of information and resources available on our website, www.biteradio.me. There is a calendar of upcoming shows, along with an archive link that will give you access to more than 1,200 shows we have had over the past 7 years. Also on the site are links to the products and services we provide: books, greeting cards, photography, and a wellness store. Our show is available as a free podcast on iTunes, and you can subscribe.
Hey, Denise, I just wanted to say that Facebook post looks really great.
Great.
Video.
Great.
Okay. Okay, so we'll be back in 1 second.
Okay.
Etc. And we also have buttons to those platforms on the top of our homepage. Our website, www.biteradio.me, has much for you to explore and enjoy. I also very much appreciate you supporting our guests, and especially today's guest. And now, back to the show.
Okay, everyone, thank you for staying with us again today. My very special guest is Denise Roussel, and we are talking about her new book, Creating a New Earth, Waking Up to Who We Are. Again, you can find out more by visiting her website, which is corbysdream.org, and that's CORYSBREAM.org. Okay, so with that, we're back, Denise.
Yes, I also want to say that that same website is also named deniseroussel.us. It's easier to go to.
Perfect. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm glad that you said it. I'll go ahead and add that one to the show description after we're off. But
Thank you.
Right, I'll get the same spot. So, what is your hope for the readers? What they'll get from reading Creating a New Earth? What are some of the takeaways that you want people to get?
Well, first of all, the book is a compilation of what's come to me day and night, transmissions through a period of 9 months, which is kind of like that analogy of the birth. And so it's my journey into waking up to who we are. And so I would like to share a story that's really kind of come to me and has been revolutionary. I'm sure you have watched the movie Beauty and the Beast. And so in Beauty and the Beast is the prince in disguise as the beast, and he's waiting for the kiss of unconditional love to set him free. And Belle can't know that he's the prince. She must love him as the beast. And when she kisses him, he morphs back into the prince. So what was shown to me is that fear And I'm going to put all of our stuff into that one word. Fear is love in disguise as the beast of fear, waiting to be recognized, loved, and accepted. And when we do, it morphs back into the love that it is. For example, my sadness is my joy in disguise as sadness. And when I offer it love and acceptance, it morphs back into the joy that it is. You may be wondering, how in the world could somebody who lost a child be so joyful? Well, I have been pouring out love and acceptance onto my grief. And I have transmuted it back into ecstatic joy. Can't make this up. Our anger is our passion and our power, disguised as anger. And when we offer it love and acceptance, it morphs back into the love that it is. Our anxiety is our excitement for life, and on and on. So when we can begin to reprogram this human way of being that's constantly trying to fight these parts of ourselves, which is only strengthening them, perpetuating, persisting what's here, whatever we're resisting, when we are able to use our practices to help us to learn how to offer love and acceptance to our fear and resistance, boom, we begin transmuting this fear back into the love that it is. And love, unconditional love, is actually who we are. This is how we wake up to who we are. This is how we create a new earth. We keep waking up.
Yeah. Now, I want to just explore this a little bit closer. The pouring of love, you said, onto grief. You know, because when you mentioned about the idea of, someone losing a son or having a son pass on at a young age, that the grief for most people would be lifelong.
Yes.
Held on for
yes.
a long time. So I guess my questions are twofold. One is that I guess let me start with this way. Tell us a little bit more again about the process for someone who is maybe currently grieving something or even someone.
Mm-hmm.
What you do or what they could do to pour that on, that grief. And then the second thing is by transmuting that, is the grief gone, or is it just different?
Well, I want to say that so long as I'm in this body and in this story, I will experience all of my human feelings, my grief, my sadness, my fear, my anger, my jealousy, my anxiety. I will experience those, but I will no longer be resistant to them if I continue to offer them, become best friends with myself. And so when I say that I've grieved the loss of my son, that doesn't mean I never experience grief ever again. No. What it means is if grief arises, I'm able to say, come over here, grief. I'm so sorry. I love you. I accept you exactly as you are. And I transmute it back in that moment into the ecstatic joy. And so I want to say that when a person's been traumatized, especially with the loss of a child or something that's someone that's very close to us and it happens unexpectedly and they're young, it is an act of aggression to try to make ourselves accept that. Many people have a very difficult time accepting their loss. So what I like to share with people is that we can train ourselves to be kind and gentle, which is not how we normally do. We normally are pretty bullies with ourselves. And so when grief or sadness comes, let's imagine that come knocking at the door and they want to come in. There are things that we can do instead of slamming the door or saying, I'm going to ignore it and I don't want to deal with it, or open the door and say, go away, I don't want to experience you, any of that. We can, if we're not ready, if it's just too much, we can just open the door and we can say, grief, I'm not quite ready to be with you right now, but I would like to be. Please be patient with me. Your grief will know that. Your grief will feel loved. Your grief will be patient with you. And then maybe in a week or so, when the grief comes back, you could say, grief, I will give you 10 minutes. I will listen to what you have to say. And then I'm going to go take a bubble bath or take a walk. And little by little, very gently and kindly, making friends with ourselves, offering ourselves love and acceptance as we're ready.
Yeah. Now, do you feel that your connection with your son now is helps?
Oh, absolutely.
The joyful experience?
Absolutely. And he's just as much ornery. He could be ornery sometimes. He could be funny. I mean, it's the same. It's a similar deal as when he was in his body, except he's much more open and can guide me better. So I wrote a book. It's over here, Shifting Worlds, My Encounters with the Afterlife, which chronicles dream visitations, waking encounters, synchronicities, and stories of other people of Corey since he's passed. He's been working with a lot of people as well as me, and he's guiding us. He's helping us. And what I like to tell people who've lost a loved one is our loved ones, they're wanting very much to help us and assist us as spirit guides. And the way that we can facilitate that is by being aware and being open to different ways that they can support us. So if we're not aware and we don't believe in that, or we don't want that, then we're likely not going to experience that. But the flip side is if we're open to that and we allow our loved ones to come in and support us in whatever way, whether it's a sign, whether it's a dream, whether it's somebody coming in and in some way orchestrating a situation that is, wow, I could tell that was really something that my loved one orchestrated to support me. These are ways that we can allow them to support us, and that is really important to our loved ones, because they could see our sadness and they're like, I know I'm not in my body anymore, but I still exist, and I want you to know that I'm here. And so it's a real encouragement, a real inspiration when we're able to access that ability. And the more that we wake up to who we are, the more we're able to move past the limitations of this 3D human reality and realize that we truly are all connected, and we can communicate with one another in ways beyond this human limitations of senses and logic and technology. That's amazing.
Yeah. Do you think that as we get more aware that that change in the veil, or the ability to connect, do you think that's going to kind of accelerate us toward that creating of the norm?
Yes, it's a butterfly effect. The more that we continue to pour out love and acceptance on ourselves, waking up, then it starts creating this like chain event, and around the world, people keep waking up, waking up. You know what I want to say? We have not experienced world peace before, but that's what I'm creating. And it is entirely possible. And I'm creating that with you. It's not going to be one person that's going to generate this, but it's going to be this, what you just said. It's this butterfly effect, one small ripple that just keeps expanding out. And we are creating world peace at this moment. Anything is possible, everything is possible, nothing is impossible, and that's what I'm creating, and that's what you're creating with me.
Right. So now, there are people out there who are going to be skeptical of, this view, of kind of where we're headed to as far as that north. What would you say to someone out there who wants to, open up, like you talked about, being open to, the information and changes and that kind of, but for someone to open up who maybe just doesn't have, but kind of like, what if you said that to the old you, before Corey did the informing you and, bringing things to you to become more aware. So what would the new you say to the old you, about this transition that's happening?
Good question. First of all, I don't have to convince, demand, make anybody believe or see anything anyway. I don't have to force my ideas. I don't have to push my ideas on anyone. So the old me was not ready to hear what I had to say. And it wasn't until I was ready that I was able to receive. And so I don't have to tell anybody anything. That skeptical person, what I tell them is, I respect and honor your truth, your journey, because it's just as valid as mine. And when we realize that each of us have different perspectives, no one of them is right or wrong, it's okay. It's okay. I like to think of this like if you were right now looking in a microscope at your gut flora, and you looked in there and you're like, oh my gosh, this is very violent. These microorganisms are eating one another up. And I don't like that one bit. Something's wrong here. And so then if we pan back and we look at the whole body and we realize if those microorganisms were not doing that, conflicted that way, then we wouldn't be healthy because they're creating this balance. So that action in the gut is a mutual collaboration. That conflict becomes a mutual collaboration. And it's the same way in our human experience. We have such a limited perspective seeing what's happening. We just see, oh, that's good, that's bad, oh no. And we see a small part of it. When we wake up to who we are, and when we keep taking the seat of the awareness that we are, it's like the helicopter view, and we see a bigger picture. We're like, oh, that's just the play that's called my life. And there's scenes where the villain is fighting the hero, and it gets bloody sometimes, and it's kind of like, oh, gross, this is not so cool. But it's the play. That's our life, that we're in here to evolve our aspect of the collective. And it's a completely different perspective. But that doesn't mean that looking in that microscope that's not true, that there's conflict going on here. So respecting where everyone is, because we're all in a different place doing different parts in this play called human evolution.
Yeah, excuse me. And I often, use a play example because, to me, it's just quite often it's just like our life is one scene after another with all of the different witchcraft and all kinds of stuff that goes on. So when it comes time to putting in that being present, a conscious presence that you talked about in the first half of the show, what are there any practices that you maybe, or any tips that you can give listeners who may have difficulty with that, who may be spending a lot of time in the past or the future?
Yes, thanks for asking. So first of all, I think it's really important that we be able to learn how to be present with ourselves before any kind of trauma comes up, because it's hard when you don't know how to be present just in the everyday things. So we start off, we could do some simple things like be conscious of our breath. It's my spacious, expansive quality of who I am, my essence. And I could just go to my breath and, look at, I'm alive. Bring myself to this moment through my breath. I would like to say that meditation is extremely important to helping us wake up, because it puts us in touch with who we are. And it's a stillness, a quality of stillness that we as humans are very habituated to be busy. And we are busy distracting ourselves from ourselves, essentially. And so I like to encourage people, if you don't have a meditation practice, it doesn't have to look like anything. Just sit still for 5 minutes and breathe. Just don't worry about what comes into your mind. Don't worry about any of that. Just 5 minutes, sit still, and let it be whatever it's going to be. That's been a meditation practice. Has been one of the most important practices of my evolution. I like to do some simple things like I like to check in with myself and say, what's present in my body right now? And I'm like, oh, my hands are on my lap and my bottom is in my seat, and I feel my hair on my neck, and I feel a little fluttery in my tummy because I'm excited, and it feels a little bit cool in this room. And then I move to what's present in my feelings. And I like to remind myself that our feelings are, you can have sadness and joy present at the same time. And you can have peace and anxiety present at the same time. And so just learning how to ascertain and be aware of what's here, so that we can be present with it. I check in and I say, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling a mixture of excitement, joy, peace, some sadness, some grief, even some anger. And I can be with those parts of myself that I traditionally have pushed away, if I'm aware that they're there. And so then I also like to think about, okay, what's present with my thoughts? Because our thoughts want to be everywhere but here. And I don't judge myself. If I do judge myself, then there's the thought that I judged myself for judging myself. Anyway, but I say, oh, I'm thinking about this broadcast. And what a blessing to have these people listening and just sharing life and love. And thinking about my family and what a beautiful day it is. So I'm just checking in. What's here now? And then finally, I check in with my highest self, my soul. And I want to take a minute to check in with what it's saying to me right now. And my highest self, my soul, is saying, all is well. I love you so much. Thank you. Thank you for what you bring. It's amazing. So these are just some of the practices that I have.
Well, those are good. Those are easy to implement. It's just a matter of putting your attention to it and doing that.
also our eating, our clean, washing dishes, driving a car, you can really just focus all of your attention. Smell your food, taste it, look around, really just give gratitude to the farmers, the earth, and just think about what you're eating. That's that conscious eating, and then consciously ask your body to receive this nourishment. That awareness is so powerful. And then when I'm sweeping the floor, I like put my hands on that broom, and immediately it brings me to this practice I have of feeling the broom in my hand, brushing and looking at how I'm cleaning and just focusing all of my attention. Like I'm walking down the hall, I'm feeling my feet touch the ground right here, right now, kissing the earth. And so really just practicing using what's here now to really just put all of my attention, no more multitasking, at least try not to, and then just go into this moment with whatever's here, feeling it, seeing it, just smelling it, tasting it, seeing it.
Yeah. Well, by putting your attention to all of those sensory inputs, excuse me, you can't help but be in the present. I mean, you can't be contemplating the plush rug under your feet while worrying about, where you're going tomorrow.
Well, and you can do that because we have so many thoughts that come to us all at once. But it's a practice that we become more skillful to be able to think about that plush carpet or whatever it is, that rug. I have a fur rug at the side of my bed. When I get out, I just feel it. But so we have all these ideas of what we should be doing, and we judge ourselves that you should be meditating every day, you should be doing yoga, you should be eating right, you should be practicing this stuff, and if you don't, well, there's something wrong with you. It's all your fault. So that spiritual ego can really get in the way, and I really want to stress that practices are just practices to help us to become more open and aware. They are not. They don't make us any better or worse if we don't do them. We cannot change our value, Robert. We cannot change our value. It is infinite. We are all that is. We're divine, limitless beings. The human part of us says you have to do more to be more. And that judgmental part of us is just our spiritual ego, and there's nothing wrong with that part of us. It's the part that's helping us to evolve. But we don't have to buy into it.
Yeah, it's a dance.
Yes.
Sure. But so what is next on the horizon, excuse me, for you?
Okay, first of all, my daughter is having a little girl next week, and that's pretty exciting.
Wow.
So I am going to be with my new granddaughter. Hopefully it's next week, or this week, who knows. And then in May, I'm going to be taking a tour, speaking engagements, a book tour essentially, workshops along the Pacific Coast, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego. Pretty excited about that. That's what I have right immediately. And I am creating mantra and affirmation cards, mantras for living and loving. So you can pick a card, and it may have a mantra that says something like, anything is possible, nothing is impossible, or all is well, everything's okay, or just breathe, relax, or I love and accept you exactly as you are. Just whatever it is. I have 44 of them.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. And now, there was just one other area that I wanted to cover. I was going over my notes to make sure I covered everything, and that was the attention to homelessness on your particular website, you have under resources how to help the homeless. But the homeless aspect played a part or role in your experience.
Yes.
With your son, correct?
Yes. Corey, by the way, lived homeless several times in his life. In the last 3 months, he lived homeless in the green belt in Austin, Texas, sleeping in a hammock. Nobody knew that he was homeless because he thought this was the way to live. He's just camping. And so what he was trying to do was to change people's perspective. He was trying to change people's perspective of that person that was holding up that sign out there. And he did some crazy things to help people open to that. Like he had a sign that said reverse panhandling. And when people came by, he wanted people people have a bad feeling about that person panhandling and they don't know if they want to give them money and everything. So he wanted to help people feel good about that. So when they would roll down the window and say, "What's that?" and he'd throw money in their car and start laughing and walk away. And so he was so fun. He held up a sign in downtown San Diego that said free answers, and it was completely free. He just wanted to engage with people and just change people's perception. So one of the ways, when Corey died, the way I responded to grief was kind of different than most. What was healing for me is reaching out to others in love and meaningful connection. And I was interfacing with a lot of homeless people because Corey died in downtown Houston, downtown Houston. And I was trying to find information about what happened during the hours and his death, if anybody saw it. And so I was down there interfacing with homeless people. I've been interfacing with homeless people my entire life. But I just created these connections, and I started realizing, what if we look past this form and this story and see each other as infinitely beautiful, worthy souls? And I used the practice of nonverbal eye gazing. I eye gazed with homeless people in 4 different cities, sharing love and gratitude. And I took their picture after we eye gazed, when they were open and alive, and I shared the experience of what it was like to be with that soul. And I created a traveling photography exhibition along with we produced a video of creative ways to show love and compassion and a space for eye gazing. And today, the work that I do with the homeless is very organic. I just know that more than anything I can give them is I can give them presence. And I can see them and I can say, "Hi, how are you? What's your name? I hope you have an amazing day. I want you to know I see you. I appreciate you. I love you." So it's just amazing. I have friends over here and it's just wonderful. Richest souls. And I also want to say, honor your journey, because what we don't realize is that in order for us to heal something in the collective, we must first experience it. And those people came here to heal something. And I am no place to judge anyone's journey, because they're going through their process ultimately so they can heal it. Even if they leave this lifetime with it looks like they didn't do that very good job, even if it looks like crap, it doesn't matter, because their soul continues to exist. It doesn't matter. It's just part of the evolution. All of us are doing our part, even if it looks like crap. And if you don't mind, I would like to share quickly that it's kind of like at the end of a play. Every play has conflict. And you've got heroes and you've got villains. And at the end of the play, everybody's taking a bow. And you say to the hero, "Bravo, hero, you did a great job. I love you." And we say to the villain, "You were a great villain, so good." And we know that behind that costume is an actor. And the same is true for us. We're all source in costume. Sometimes we're heroes and sometimes we're villains, and sometimes you're the hero and sometimes you're the villain. It doesn't matter. We're still source and costume. We're helping the play go along. And some of us choose to be the villain at different points. That's okay. Corey was definitely a villain in my life many, many times. He was ornery. He could be horrible, horrible. He needed to be for the story to progress.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Denise, this has really been a joy talking with you this afternoon. I really want to thank you for sharing all about Corey and your work, and I'm sure it's gotten people excited for learning more about you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it so much, you having me.
Well, you're very welcome. Again, everyone, today my very special guest has been Denise Roussel. We've been talking about her book, Creating a New Earth, Waking Up to Who We Are. Again, you can find out more by visiting the website, corysdream.org or deniseroussel.us.
And also, if you can go to Amazon.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of the Bringing Inspiration to Her show. And until we meet again, thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to the Bringing Inspiration to Her show.
Thank you so much for listening.
Be sure to visit our website at www.
By the way, you can go to Amazon to purchase the book as well.
RADIO.me. You can also find us on